step by step. Let me now hand over to Akhil. So he will just start the session now. Akhil, all the best. Do well.
Thank you, Subhash. So I hope you guys can hear me well. Myself, Akhil. I'm taking care of the tech team over NMK. So I'll be the trainer for the day. If you have any queries in between, you can put those questions in the chat box. My colleagues will help you out, or else we can discuss later after the presentations. Once again, thank you all for joining. Thanks for my team, marketing department, Maliha, Subhash, and Mubarak for arranging these and helping me with the setup. Also, a big thanks to Ekta as well as Jan from Barco team to make this happen. Thank you all. So let me share my screen. Oops. You guys can see my screen, right?
Not yet, Akhil. It's just a blank screen.
Okay, just a second. Okay, how about now?
Yeah, perfect.
All right, so that should be a full view where you'll be able to see the entire screen, the presentation. Yep. So today we are going to discuss more about the ClickShare range. The ClickShare in terms generally, we'll be more discussing about the conferencing series. So ClickShare comes with the CSC range that's for the normal kind of presentation. Then we do have the conferencing. So today we'll be discussing about the conferencing series of the ClickShare. So a quick overview regarding the agenda. We'll be having unboxing installations. We'll also guide you through the activation procedure of the new units, functionality, XMS installation, networking possibilities, securities, and Q&A. It's a 3-hour session. I'll try to finish at the earliest. I'll try my best to make sure you guys are not falling asleep. We'll have breaks in between. So I hope that helps. Let's start with a question. So is ClickShare Conference new for you? So if you guys can use the chat box, that makes things easier. So if you can, there will be questions in between. So if you can respond to the questions in the chat box, it will be helpful. So that, okay, I could see one response. Okay, so I could see most of you guys are familiar with the ClickShare unit. Yep. Yeah, one more question to understand much detail. Do you have opportunity to install or configure a ClickShare device? So let me jump into the next slide. Yeah, I could see a mixed response. So there are quite a lot of people who has experience with the ClickShare, and there's certain other guys who are new to ClickShare. So ClickShare is a market leader, which was originally launched in 2012 from Barco. Initially started with the CS range as a wireless presentation unit. And then recently we have switched to the conferencing option due to the current demand. So quite a lot of awards, recognitions for the ClickShare. You could see 2020, that's where we launched up with the CX series that supports wireless conferencing. Moving towards the next slide. And in recently, we have launched a C range that's perfect for hybrid meeting rooms. So this includes, this is a bit different from the CX range. So going further forward, you'll understand what's the difference between the ClickShare C range as well as CX range. Yep. So in an overview, ClickShare makes your life easier in terms of meeting room scenarios, huddle rooms, where you could use a ClickShare button to share your laptop or other. It's like to support your BYOD. ClickShare is the ideal choice. So you don't need to have the hassles of getting cables connected, passing on the cables and all those. So this makes your life easier. And you know, the ClickShare button, this is something that people love in the market. It's famous for the button, the way it looks like. It's just one press, you're good to go. So how ClickShare makes your life easier? There are certain ways you can connect the ClickShare. You can either use a button that's already supplied with the boxes, depends upon the models that you purchase. And there's a desktop app version. You can share your content using the mobile app. So you have all these options available. So in ClickShare range, we can categorize into two. I'm not talking about the CSV range. In the conference range, there's CX range. CX range comes in the conference where you have the CX20, CX30, and CX50 that supports the conferencing. And then we have recently came up with the new lineup, that's the C5 and C10 that's categorized under the ClickShare Present. A couple of key selling points for the ClickShare are the enterprise grade, like the ISO security that we do have, the central management system called the XMS. You have the cloud version as well as the edge version. Then you do get the analytics and insights from the XMS. You can get a smart care, which is like 5-year coverage, and it's also eco-friendly A-level certified. Moving to the next ClickShare experience. So there's 3 different categories where we can divide these into ClickShare base units, ClickShare apps, and the XMS. So we do have quarterly firmware updates for the ClickShare base units, which helps us to have better performance, and you can even download it from direct website. So if your ClickShare devices it's connected to a network, you do have an option for automatic firmware updates. So you don't need to worry about, unlike other devices where you need to do the manual firmware update. No, you don't need to do that. So if the ClickShare button is connected to a network, that's possible. Then you do have the ClickShare apps where you'll get the monthly firmware updates. So which means that we are aware of the requirements that's coming from the end users. We value your feedback. So based on which regular updates are being made at the back end from ClickShare. And even in terms of XMS Cloud, the backend system, we are improving. We are adding more features. So we are already in the market. We are already communicating with you guys. We are communicating with the end users. We know what the requirements are from the market, and we are sharing those requirements or the details with the product development team. And these are taken care seriously. So, yep, giving an overview regarding the firmware version for the C5, C10, CX20, CX30, and CX50, it's 2.09. For the button, that's 4.9, and mobile app and desktop versions. All right, so let's start unboxing. So over here, we are going to look at the unboxing of C10. So within the box, you do have a base unit. So you do have button, but please make sure that button it's not supplied with each and every unit. So button, it's only with certain units, and even the quantity of button varies upon the quantity of the button varies according to the models. So keep that in mind. You have the power adapter supplied, multiple power sockets that's suitable for different region, UK, Europe, all those. You do have a cool wall screen mounting plate that you can see, the round shaped one. So it's something really nice. And then you do have a security guide with the kit setup. So looking at the installation options, wall mounting or rack mounting can be done. So for the wall mounting, you do have an in-box supplied plate. So these can be used, and it's sliding. So those round plate, the red color round image that you can see on the left side, so that's a small mounting accessory that comes with a double side glue. So you just stick on the wall, then you place your CX range and slide in. It's easy to go. You do have options for rack mount for the higher versions like the CSC 800, all those. Looking at the unit, more detail into the unit. So we are looking at the C10 right now. C10 has got a hardware reset on the front. Then we do have a USB port, USB-C port. So you do have two USBs, one USB and one USB-C port. Then at the rear, you do have a power, HDMI, Ethernet port, and you do have the lock option. And let's have another look at the CX50, that's top of the tier model. So CX50 had much more features compared to the CX30 or CX20. In terms of the connectivity, you do have an additional HDMI input in the unit, physical unit itself. You can see at the image. Then you do have two USBs, one USB-C. You do have network port. Also, you do have an audio output. And priority for the audio output, it's also available. So you do have the audio output over there, like analog audio output, it's there. You do have the Toslink as well, connectors available. Same with similar features with the CSC 800. With the CSC 800, you do have the two HDMI output options available. So if that's a requirement, yeah, that's the model that you need to look at. CSC 800. You could see two network ports, quite a lot of options for the USB connectivity. Yep, so that's more about the CSC 800 in an overview, but going for the details, we'll have a detailed comparison. Before moving towards the next slide, one more added advantage of CX50 is regarding the network. So you do have two Wi-Fi networks available in the CX50 and a wired network. So these are available in the CX50. So this is the basic installation that we are going to talk about. So most of the scenarios I could see in the region, most of the scenarios, this is the installation type that's been followed. So for CX20 and 30, the power requirement will be 5 to 10 watts, 25 watts will be the maximum, whereas CX50, it will consume up to 50 watts. And on standby mode, it will be somewhere around 8 watts. You can use it via PoE splitter. You can power up the device, but not for the CX50 range, but for the remaining range, yes, you can do that. So most of the devices, so talking about from CX20, 30, and 50, you do have a Wi-Fi interface, and you do have a network wired internet connectivity, wired network port on the device. So ideally, the ClickShare button talks with the base unit over Wi-Fi. So most of the scenarios that we have seen over here, this is how the connectivity will be happening. So the button will be talking to the base unit over the Wi-Fi, and then the LAN will be connected. So LAN will be connected towards the base unit. There will be a physical network cable. To have the touch capability, yes, you do have one USB connection that can take care of your touch screen that will be connected from the base unit towards touch screen. You'll have an HDMI output from the base unit connected towards your screen, and then one USB peripheral in. So this can be your Logitech, this can be your Shure P300, anything. This can be the VB1, Bose VB1. So any of these can be connected over the USB. So it's quite straightforward. Out of the box situation, like 90% of the installation, it's possible. Like you don't need to be much knowledgeable or technically so solid to have these. It's straightforward, it's easy, makes your life easier in terms of installation. So this is a standalone situation where if you don't need to have further kind of integration with your IT infrastructure network. So ClickShare conference, yep. This is something new. So with the ClickShare conference option, the button as well as the app will give you an access towards your wireless camera and the audio inside the room. So whatever peripherals you are using inside the room, if you are using the cameras, audio separate, all these can be connected to the ClickShare over the USB. Sorry guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yep. Sorry for that. Yep. So the button and the app give you the access to the camera, audio inside the room. So this can be connected to your speaker or the third-party peripherals. So when you're using a Teams or Zoom or any of the conference tool installed in your laptop, it's much easier once you walk into a room, meeting room, where you do have different kind of setup and you just want to join from your laptop. You don't need to have the hassles of multiple cables, or you don't need to, usually there used to be two ways. Either you need to deal with quite a lot of cables, connect to your laptop and succeed in getting the conference done properly, or else the other way is to log into the dedicated PC over there in the room and then from there make the meeting ongoing. So with the ClickShare, you don't need to worry about those. You have the capability, just plug a button, or even using the application desktop app without plugging the button, you can now initiate the conference call. And so ClickShare Conference has all the functionality of ClickShare Present, whereas ClickShare Present doesn't support the conference. So that's something that you need to note. Yeah. So let's have a look at how the setup would be. So the example over here shows the Teams setup. So if you go to device settings inside the Teams, so this is a standard room device through the button or app. Once you go over there, you can select the echo canceling speakerphone. So that's something that you can see on the microphone and audio device. It depends upon the setup. So if you have all-in-one unit, or if you have all the units connected to the ClickShare, yeah, you just select the echo canceling speakerphone. That will take care of your camera as well as your audio. And linking CX with the peripherals. So let me show you some live over. Let me show you a peripheral. This is something really nice that will be helpful most of the scenarios. Let me share my screen. Yep. So hope you guys can see my screen. So this is ClickShare So if you just Google like ClickShare supported peripherals, you'll land into this page. So it's really handy tool, because the reason why I would say handy, you know which all peripherals are supported over here. So if you get into this page, you have quite a lot of partners over here. So based on the brand, let me give a much detailed example how detailed these are. So let's look at the Hartley cam, which I'm quite familiar with. So Hartley cams are supported with the Barco, you can see. And even in the remarks, you could see only compatible on USB-C or with a powered USB hub when used on USB-A port. So there's much details given into the remarks, because normally the Hartley, if you're going with the kit, it comes with the Hartley cameras having USB-C connection. And if you're going with the kit, you'll get a cable from USB-C to A. And most probably, if you're connecting those USB-A cable directly to your ClickShare unit, it may not work in the first stage. So I have received a couple of calls asking like why it's not supported. So most of your questions answer us over here, whether the peripheral is supported. If so, what kind of cable you should use. So these are the ones that we have tested and we have updated on a regular basis. So this will be something helpful. So like for now, with the Hartley cameras, you should always plug into the USB-C port of the ClickShare conference unit rather than the normal USB. So going back to the presentation. So now that's something really helpful page that you can look for, which all peripherals will be supported. All the details are over there. Pretty straightforward explained. You can choose based on the brands, manufacturers, models, etc. And you do have also some AV reference designs that can be helpful for you. So for like small kind of huddle room where you have like 3 participants max, you're using a 40-inch screen. Okay, one CX20 would be helpful for you. And these are some of the tested scenarios where a couple of third-party products has been used. We have seen those being used in these kind of scenarios. So this gives you an overview regarding the different kind of setups, but it doesn't mean that this is the only way that you should follow. No, there are quite a lot of options that you can play around. You can use other devices, but this has something been tested, and we thought it would be nice to give you an understanding how the system looks like in different scenarios. Like for example, a small video conferencing room with a maximum of 5 seater participants, and you have 55-inch touchscreen. You can use a CX30, and that can be used with different kind of devices. You can have your PC or laptop. You can have all those UC platforms like Zoom, Skype, Teams, Cisco WebEx, Google Hangouts, all those. So, and even for a larger VC room, yes. So it's like all-in-one solution that can help you, that will fit for most of the purpose applications that you require. Yes, so we do have one more question. Can you link a speakerphone with integrated hardware like speakers and mics and a camera directly into the base unit with 2 USB cables? Yes or no? So appreciate if you guys can respond for these over the chat. So I know that you guys are awake. I'm not putting you in sleep. So yeah, the question is, can you link a speakerphone that has integrated hardware speakers and microphones and a camera directly to the base unit with 2 USB cables? Is it possible or not? I could see response from Sam, yes. Yeah, so one thing that you need to make sure, the first thing I would recommend for this is to make sure the peripherals that you are going to use, it's supported by Barco. Like the ClickShare unit supports these peripherals. So the first place to check that, it's the Barco portal. You can see on the peripheral supported whether this is supported or not. And if you're talking about the two USB cables, and if you're looking at two USB-A, the best practice is to use a powered USB hub. We always recommend to use a powered USB hub for these. So that the reason why we would recommend, because with the new cameras, we could see most of those cameras are consuming quite a lot of power to work with. So those powers are being taken from the USB. So it's always recommended to use a powered USB cable, powered USB hub. And then moving further forward. Yep. So this is another example where you can see all-in-one peripheral supported. So in the example, you could see it's a Logitech. You have one single unit. So this can be either Logitech or this can be the Bose VB1, the new ones that's in the market, or even the Poly, the Cisco. So all these units that comes with speaker, microphone, camera, all in one, and just give you a one USB output. Yeah. So that USB can be connected to the ClickShare. Another USB from the ClickShare can be connected back to a screen if the screen is a touch screen. And then an HDMI output from the base unit can be connected back to a screen. So that makes everyone's life easier. And on second scenario, you can see this is what we were asking previously on a separate, the first one was a previous question. So second one is the scenario where you do have a separate camera, you do have a separate microphone and speaker, two USB cables coming. Yeah. So how to use this? We would recommend using a powered USB hub. Then you do have one more USB cable, USB port available. Talking about the CX20 and 30 range, then those USB can be connected for touch, and an HDMI cable for the output. Please note that it doesn't support multiple cameras, so it will only support one camera, and no separate mics or speakers directly connected to the USB of the base unit. And looking at the third scenario, so this is a common solution from the Logitech that you can see in the market. So you do have the display hub, you do have the table hub, you have rally speakers left and right, two rally speakers, you do have a PTC camera, and then you have an extension port mic from Logitech. So in these kind of scenarios, if you want to integrate with the Logitech, yes, from the display hub, connect one USB cable to the CX30. So usually the way you used to connect it, there will be a USB cable. Either you used to connect it from the display hub or from the table hub to your laptop. So depends upon where the PC is placed. So right now in these kind of scenarios, you don't need to worry about those. That will be connected to a CX30, and from CX30 an HDMI output to the screen. Looking at the next option, there's another way of using the CX30 with a larger room kind of scenarios where you do have Shure ceiling tile, you do have Shure P300 small DSP. So people who know these products, so Shure MX910, it's a Dande-based ceiling tile microphone. So for larger kind of meeting room scenarios, a conference room where you need to have more microphones to cover the room, or the smaller mics cannot take care of these kind of requirements, you can use any of the microphones from Shure or any other third-party microphones that can be used. And then, so these microphones are over Dande, then it will be connected to the DSP over Dande, and from the DSP there will be a single USB cable that will be connected to the ClickShare unit. Yep. The only concern, so this will be a straightforward setup for in this kind of scenario. You'll be having a USB port occupied by the DSP itself. Then there will be another USB from the camera, any of the PTC cameras you can have. So you'll have quite a nice room. We do have a setup I have seen where camera tracking, the auto tracking cameras are being used, converted as a USB and connected to a CX30 and then the microphones was coming through the DSP. Yep. So these are the scenarios that we could see. But it doesn't mean that it only worked with these brands. There are quite a lot of brands being supported. So just look at the peripherals that's being supported to make sure it works well. And yes, this is another detailed example of CX50 where you do have multiple USB options compared to a CX20 or 30 where you do have only one USB and one USB-C, whereas with CX50 you do have multiple USB options, USB-A. So in these kind of scenarios, you do have a USB camera connected directly to a CX50 unit. You do have an HDMI output going to a display. And on the input side, you do have multiple speakers or microphones connected from the DSP. Over here, you could see the DSP used. It's show a P300. And from the DSP, there will be a single USB cable connected to a CX50 unit. A couple of things in terms of the USB peripherals. So USB 2.0 and powered peripherals. So if it's higher, if the devices that you're connecting with the CX30, it's higher than the USB 2.0, like if you're going to connect USB 3.0, either more powered USB 3.0, then we would recommend connecting it to using the powered USB hub, or connect it to a USB-C port inside on the CX20 or 30 or conference unit, the Barco CX units, because the USB-C supports has the capability to cater you with more power. So we would recommend that. For speakerphone devices with echo cancellation built in, it's supported. So don't assume that this unit is having an AEC as an inbuilt. So it depends upon whatever you have in the unit. So if you have a DSP with AEC, yes, that would work. If you don't have a DSP with AEC, the ClickShare will not be doing an AEC for the room scenario. All audio will be directed to the peripherals to avoid echo or duplicate audio in the call. So there will not be any audio coming through the HDMI or the jack or SPDIF ports that you can see on the CX50. These slides give an understanding of how the echo happens in the room and the details. So if these kind of scenarios, ideally when you connect a ClickShare unit to your device, you'll have the speaker options and you'll have the echo canceling speakerphone. So we would recommend selecting to the echo canceling speakerphone. So most of the scenario by default, this will be in the echo canceling speakerphone, but sometimes it may go to the other modes, like other speakers will be selected. So for these kind of scenarios, just go to a custom device setting and save these, so which makes your life easier. So looking at these, we are not recommending these kind of scenarios where like you have the microphones from the laptop, then you do have an all-in-one peripheral devices that's been in the room that's connected to a CX30. This could create an echo because your microphone is being picked from the laptop and then you are having whereas the speaker you are trying to use a third party. So no, we would recommend to use all-in-one device, because in these scenarios you can see there will be an echo because the microphone will be picking whatever it's being played from the speaker, and there will be a loop, and that will get more of the echo. So this is not we are recommending, and I don't want to go much detail into the echo cancellation. That's a whole different topic, because over there then we need to discuss more about the AEC and all those. So I hope you understand the concept of these. Troubleshoot. So this is an easy troubleshoot guide that will be able that will help you to understand what are the easy procedures or what's the recommended workarounds for troubleshooting the ClickShare units. So first, check if the peripheral is supported. If the peripherals are supported and still you are having some issues, check the USB cables, USB connections, reboot the base unit, make sure the firmware is update both on the base unit as well as the peripheral. Check if the buttons are paired with the base unit. If the buttons are paired, yes, that's easier. Check for the Windows drivers are being properly installed. One thing that we need to understand is what's the operating system that you're looking at. If you're looking at Windows 7, then Windows 7 is no longer being supported by Microsoft itself. So we always recommend to use the Windows 10, keep things updated. Test the peripherals in Windows. And if you're using a KVM switch, no, it will not be supported over KVM switch. And finally, we would recommend, if none of these works, we would recommend then going for the factory reset. But we know that this is not how we used to work around. We start from the other way around. So if we stuck with one of the side, the first thing that we used to do is a factory reset rather than troubleshooting all others. So this is a common practice. So no, we don't recommend the factory reset as a first option. I would keep it as the last option, and then check the peripheral directly from your PC. So I could see a question from Sudhagar. Any limitations on number of microphones? No. So if you're going to use multiple microphones, and if you're planning to have it connected to a DSP, and then from DSP, if you're only going to give a USB cable, there's no limitation. The limitation will depends on the DSP, but in ClickShare point of view, no, because you're only going to get the USB audio in and out. So that makes things easier. Let me show you, and meanwhile, let me share you my screen and show how the web UI looks at. So that makes your things, that makes you to understand it much better. So this is a web page that you can land into. So once you have a new unit in your site, or you're opening a brand new box, you do have a ClickShare base unit. So the first thing that we would recommend is connecting the ClickShare base unit into the network. So once the ClickShare base unit is connected to the network, it will automatically update the firmware. So once the firmware is updated, the next step that I would recommend is to connect your buttons to the ClickShare base unit. So all the CX range buttons will be having the USB-C port. So connect the ClickShare button into your base unit, which would automatically do the pairing. So while you initially start connecting the ClickShare base unit with the network port, I would recommend if you can connect the HDMI to a screen, it will automatically guide you how to do those, because over the screen you will have all those displays, the step-by-step procedure on how to configure it. It's straightforward. And then to access towards the admin page, so by default you could see a ClickShare Wi-Fi that's appeared in your. So if you look at from your laptop, you can see the base unit that's already, once it's already plugged in, powered up, you can see the Wi-Fi access available in the area. So the default password for in order to access this ClickShare, it's ClickShare. So you can access it over there, and then the default IP will be 192.168.2.1. So once with that IP, you will be landing to this page where you have you'll not be landing directly. There will be an admin page. It will ask for you the admin username and password, which is admin. Once you give all those credentials, you'll land into the web UI, where it's straightforward. You can see based on my screen. So first, this is how the web UI looks like. You'll have a personalization page. You'll have a display and audio. You do have the Wi-Fi network security system and support and updates. So in personalization, you could see the on-screen ID, the language for on-screen. So you do have English, you do have other quite a lot of languages that's being supported. So this is the name of your meeting room. If you want, you can change the location name. You can give a welcome note if required. So this is how, based on this details that the information that you give over here, that's how it's going to be displayed on the meeting room. Show network info. This will be helpful if you're going to if someone third party comes in and he want to join the network and he don't know which IP to connect into. This is a scenario where if he's not planning to use a click button, so if he's planning to connect over the Wi-Fi, then you need to show them the network details. So show network will give you will display the IP that you need to connect into, and that once you enter the IP, it will ask for a passcode that will be also displayed on the screen. Once you have those details, you are in. So it's straightforward and easier. The next tab over here will be the wallpaper. You can add more wallpapers. It's easier, but I love the default wallpaper. It looks nice. It looks clean, classy. If you want to add, depends upon your corporate or branding, if you want to have those kind of wallpaper, yes, it's possible. And some configuration file, like if you're having already configured file, you can do those full backup, like upload the configuration so that you don't need to do this each and every time. Like if you're an organization where you do have a standard templates that needs to be followed, this will be an easy time saving window for you. So in the display and audio, you can see the audio, you can see the resolution. So these are the resolutions available right now. I have connected these units to my meeting room, and the screen over here, it's supporting 1920 by 1080p. So this is the resolution that I'm getting. And you can go for auto option, but if you are going for auto option, the only thing that you need to note is regarding the edit. So I would prefer if you know that this is going to be permanent and this is the screen, the output resolution, if you know the output resolution, just use that, but auto also works. Enable CES, that's the Consumer Electronic Standard. So if you want to, you can enable that. You have the screensaver option. So if you want to show the screensaver after quite a lot of minutes, you can just select all those. And this is where that we need to look at the peripherals. So right now I have connected. So the microphone in this device that's connected, it's a Shure 910, and it's going through the ANI USB, Shure ANI USB. It's a USB interface. So that from the ANI USB, there's a USB cable connected to the CX30 and even the speakers. So at the back end, I do have a common DSP. In this scenario, I'm believing I think it's Bose EX1280C. It's there at the back end. So the microphone communicates with the DSP, and the DSP is in a different location, and it's in a different rack location. It's a bit far. So over the Dante network it supports. Then in order to have the communication, we have used the Shure ANI USB in the local room next to the CX30. So there's a USB cable from the NA USB connected to the CX30. And then camera, it's an external camera, Hartley camera, it's being connected to the CX30. So that's how, but this is the setup I'm accessing right now. And over here, you can see the device firmware upgrade. It's unsupported for this device. So if you're looking at the Logitech devices, few of those, you can do the firmware update. You can see those options available from here. What's the firmware update and all those. Going into the Wi-Fi network settings, yes. So this is the kind of settings that you do have. So right now it's working as an operation mode. You do have other details. I'll get back to these on later stage once we are talking about the Wi-Fi security. So I think now let's jump back to the presentation. So I could see a question, what's the maximum resolution supported? Yes, that depends upon the unit. So we can have up to 4K resolution being supported. Let me try to find those. I can share those pages to you guys. Yeah, we are getting over there later. So there's a slide coming for that, so where we will discuss much detail about the maximum resolution being supported. So when multiple buttons are connected, how it will behave. So with the CX30, you will get 2 buttons that's coming in the box. So if you have 2 buttons connected, how it will behave. So let's say you have the camera and microphone connected to the base unit, then you do have 2 buttons connected to 2 different laptops. So how this will behave? So it will be based on the priority. So whichever laptop was connected initially will have the access towards the audio and video peripherals. So let's say if PC1 was initially connected with the button, then that's the one it will be connected. Like it will have the priority of audio as well as the video. So the PC2 will not be having access. So PC2 will get on the X only if the PC1 stops the peripherals, and it takes about 10 seconds for those to be routed, but it's done automatically. And this is something that we are getting quite a lot of inquiries, how to add wireless presentation to a Microsoft Teams or Zoom room kind of scenario. So you do have a Teams room or Zoom room. So over here, you can see the Logitech tab and all those being connected. And then on the left side, you can see a traditional scenario where you do have an HDMI cable connected to the team room from your laptop to the Teams room. So this is how it would be. But with the new C range, it doesn't mean that you only need to use C range. You can use the CX range. So with the C range, it would be like an HDMI output from the device will be connected as an input to a tab, and then you can use a button. So that makes your life easier. Yep. So this is how it will look before and after. Before you used to have the wired cable running from one end of the table to the other end for the person to connect into, and then if someone else wants to share, they need to remove the cable and give it to the next guy. So all these hassles used to happen in between the meetings, but with the ClickShare, you get rid of all those. You do have multiple buttons, you just connect and you're ready to share. It also supports Google Cast, Miracast, and it also works with Apple AirPlay. So we'll have a detailed look on later. So this is how it looks like. You get into wireless where you don't need to deal with the wired cable hassles anymore. A couple of questions. So I believe you guys are able to see my screen. You can see my screen, right? So yes, I could see a couple of questions. No, okay, so you guys are not, sorry. Okay, sorry. So that was my mistake. So this was some of the slides that we were looking at. Yeah, so this is a scenario that I was talking about. You do have 2 PCs and you're talking about like which device will have the priority over if two of the buttons are connected, it will be the first device that's connected, first laptop that's connected will have the priority. This was a Teams room setup that I was talking about, like you do a traditional Teams room or Zoom room where you have dedicated HDMI cable connected with the laptop. So with the new one, you don't, with the integration of ClickShare, you don't need to, everything will be wireless. And yeah, so before and after scenarios where you'll have wired connection, that will make your life difficult, but now it's just wireless. Okay, one quick question regarding the ClickShare presenter or ClickShare conference. So there are three scenarios. The first one, it's a hybrid meeting room with a conference room setup. Which product you would recommend using over here? It's a ClickShare present or ClickShare conference unit. You can have your answers in the chat. What do you think? Is it, you can just type A, B, or C. So A is the ClickShare present, B will be the ClickShare conference, C is both will be fit in this room. I could see B as an option, ClickShare conference. Yes, quite a lot of Bs. So most of them are recommending ClickShare conference. I'm sure Subhash will be happy to sell more number of ClickShare conference for these kind of scenarios. But if you do have a dedicated Teams or Zoom room where you have everything being connected, then yes, ClickShare conference works. If you ask, yes, it would work, but it doesn't need to be a ClickShare conference. Even with ClickShare present, you can work on these kind of scenarios because you do have a dedicated PC that's taking care of the conference calls. So with the ClickShare present as an input towards, so if we are looking at our previous image, previous slide, where yes, so if you are looking at this scenario, if you would like to just, so if you're looking at this scenario where you have everything being connected, only requirement for you is to have a wireless presentation. So connect your laptop wirelessly to this setup. So for these, ClickShare present would work. You don't need to, it's not a mandatory that you should use the ClickShare CX range. So yep, ClickShare present will work. That's the answer for that. But yeah, even ClickShare conference also will support over there. So it's BYOD. It's easy to share. Like you do have all these features. You can get into remote participants, collaboration tools, two sources on the screen, and you don't need the cable. Yes, ClickShare conference will also work as an alternative. Looking at the second scenario, it's a hybrid meeting room with a USB camera as well as audio. So in this scenario, which one do you recommend? Do you recommend the ClickShare present or the ClickShare conference? If you can give your answers in the chat box, it will be helpful. Yep, I could see a couple of Bs. Yes. So in this scenario, yes, of course, we would recommend the ClickShare conference unit because over here, you do have only all-in-one USB peripheral. So in order to make that work with the ClickShare, with the ClickShare, you need to have a conference unit that support. So if you are looking at the ClickShare present and ClickShare conference is the one that supports the conferencing series, whereas the ClickShare present, it's a wireless presentations device that doesn't have the capability to work the way the ClickShare conference works. So if you have a ClickShare conference in this setup, the connection would be like ClickShare conference will be the USB all-in-one USB peripheral will be connected with your ClickShare conference, the CX 20, 30, or 50, and then you will have the dongle connected to your laptop. And in third scenario, it's a face-to-face meeting. So which one would you like to use, the ClickShare present, ClickShare conference, or both of it? it's a face-to-face meeting. You don't have any wireless or you don't have any wireless conference happening in this room. So what would you recommend? You guys can text, you guys can reply on the chat. Yep, I could see a couple of A and B. Yep. So over here it's ClickShare present. Yes, does the ClickShare conference work? Yes, it will fit. But do you need it? Because you are not going for any conference option. You just need to have a face-to-face meeting and you just want to wirelessly share your content. So in that case, yeah, the first choice would be ClickShare present. But if you're willing to pay more and you think that on a later stage they might use this room to have a conference call, yes, then you can go for the ClickShare wireless conference. So I think we'll pause for a break, like 5 minutes break now, so that you guys can have your coffee and all those. We'll come back at 11:05 and we'll resume the rest. I hope that's fine. Thank you. So we'll see you in 5 minutes.
Yeah, Akhil,
All right, guys, so let's resume. I hope you guys are back. You had a quick break. Let me see. Yeah. So let's resume. I hope you guys had a break. Everyone is back. Let's So now we'll look into activating and registering, configuring the ClickShare unit. So I hope everyone can see my screen. Yeah. So installation and registration flow. Activation and update starts automatically by connecting the base unit to the internet. So as I was mentioning earlier, once you have the new unit, just connect the base unit with the network. It would automatically start updating the firmware. First thing that you need to note, make sure the network that you're connected, it's not an enterprise network where the devices are being blocked, because we have seen situations where people take the unit, so the integrators take the unit into client's location and try to connect it from there, activate the unit from there, and then they realize that the network is already disabled for any third-party devices. So this makes a bit harder, but I would prefer if you can do it before, it will be much easier. So once you connect the base unit automatically to the network, it will do the firmware update and all those, and then you will receive a token. So what's this token and how the token can be helpful for you guys? So token will be provided to register the base unit. It will be displayed on the screen. So we would recommend connecting the screen with the base unit while you're doing the initial setup. Once you connect it to the network, you'll see a token and there will be so this is how you could see a browser link along with the token. So in the below image, you could see a YH. So that's your token. So once you have the device token, this will help you. I would recommend you guys to register the device with the given links, so that which will make you eligible for the smart care. So over here you can see the token, it's being displayed. Go to the XMS cloud, like with the link, and then add the token. So what happens when you add the token ID over there? It will make you eligible for a smart care package, and this has to be done within the first 6 months that you have purchased the unit. So even you can skip this step and do on a later stage. So if you skip the step, just make sure you come back and do this within the 6 months, which helps you to get smart care. What's smart care? Smart care is something that will extend your warranty for next 5 years instead of 1. So once you have the token and being registered, you'll have an opportunity. You'll get the extended warranty up to 5 years with the support from Barco as well as ourselves. So this makes easier, because most of the customers are asking for warranty of 5 years. Yes, you can get free of cost. The only thing that you need to do is just register the device within the first 6 months of purchase. And yes, so I would recommend to do this based on the email ID for the end users, so that they can have their own account. So just register the device from mybarco.com. It's a normal procedure. Just go to mybarco and register the device. So this is how you'll see the interface, like if you're going to XMS. If you're looking at the XMS cloud, and this is how the interface would be. So you can see the organization account. So enter the name of an end user. Like if you're a reseller, you can create a separate. You can create a separate tenant for the end user. It's like over here you can see Barco University, for example. The same way you can have a different for the end user itself. Like for example, it's another university that they want to have quite a lot of devices purchased. You can have an account, organization account based on their name, and then you can add all those units under their account. And then this is where the device token needs to be given. So once you enter the device token, it will register automatically. This can be done if you have multiple units rather than one. It will be a bit tedious task for you to enter one by one. But if it's all the units are connected into network, it makes your life easier. So over here, you can see the options to add multiple devices. So if you can get all the devices connected into the network, it makes your life easier to add multiple devices. So this will be helpful for a large scale deployment setup. You can have the option of register manual input, or you can even import the token from a CSV file. So let's say if you have a large scale deployment where you do have 50 rooms and you want to register the devices, you would like to have the token registered, then you can do it in such a way that you can export it from a CSV file. So with the CSV file, there should be a separate template where you have the token on the first column, and the second column you will have the meeting room name. So once you have these in the mentioned template, then you can have the device being just upload and save it as an CSV file, and then you can upload. So that will register all of your devices. So that makes things easier rather than doing it one by one. So yes, this is how the device, you can see the token ID, then you can add the next device. So this keeps on going, and the names also will be appeared over there. And the device token can be retrieved from the CX screen. So in the initial screen, you can get the token ID. If you want to delete in between, yes, you can delete. So all these, it's self-explanatory window where if you are getting into the XMS cloud. Moving further forward, I'll be showing you how the XMS cloud windows look like so that you can understand how it is, and it's easy. Yep, so this is what I was talking about in terms of the CSV input. So you should have a file, you should upload the file with list of devices, device token, along with the meeting room name, and click register. So it should be in the below mentioned format where device token and meeting room. Common errors that occurs, invalid device token, invalid device token format. Like, so if there is the template that the CSV file that you loaded is not in the right manner, that can create an invalid device token. If the meeting room name is left empty, that can create an error. If the device token name is left empty, that can create an error. So these are the common errors that you can expect on the XMS. Once the device is successfully registered in the XMS cloud, then you can configure your device by the button. So pairing the button, it's easy. You can see the window over here. So that will be displayed. You just need to connect the button towards the base unit. This is what we were talking about, the smart care. So once you register, you'll get smart care protection. That's for 5 years. Better service, solve the issue because remotely You can see what's happening. You can monitor. It's a management tool, the XMS, where you can see, you can get some analytics. You can schedule some power cycling, firmware updates, and all those can be done remotely. Extended hardware coverage up to 5 years. You can get replacements. It's an added value. So yes, of course, by registering, if you get 5 years of support and warranty, it would be much better. This is how you check the warranty of the base unit. So if you go to the Barco website, there's an option to check the warranty of your base unit. Over there, if you give the serial numbers that's available under the base unit, it will give a detailed description. When was the installation date, when the warranty ends, and when the service contract ends. So all these are available. You can check online, make sure whatever units you have purchased, it's still under warranty and all those. Even with the smart care information that can be found on online web configurator. So if you look at the XMS in the system window at the XMS option, you can see smart care active. It's valid until March 9. So this was one of the units that they tested. Let me see what we do have over here. Let me share that screen. Let's check what we do have. Yes, I could see a question that was being answered by my colleague. So let me share my screen. So yep, this is a brand new unit. You can see that it was installed recently and it's mentioned. So this is the device token of the device. And it has mentioned, okay, smart care has not yet been activated. You have November 22, 2021, which means the 6 months time frame to activate smart care and enjoy 5 years hardware coverage. So to activate smart care, add your device to your XMS Cloud organization account. I think let's do it right now. I do have the account being opened over here. So there you go. Let me switch to the organization. It's NMK. Let me switch to NMK account. Okay, so I do have the NMK account. Currently, there are no devices being connected. Not sure which account I'm using. Okay, sorry for that because I do have 2 accounts. So let's look at the devices. It's taking a while, sorry for that. Yep, so I do have a tree over here. I can select the country, I can select the location and all those. So let me put these inside the UAE account under the Dubai office. Yes, it will be on Dubai office in the DSO. I'll be using it in the ground floor, let's say training room. I can add the device over here. I get 2 options: add the device using XMS Edge. I'll get add the device using device token. So I'll add the device using the device token. I'll click continue. So it has asked me manually. I'm going to enter. So I'm going to enter the token ID that I have copied from the meeting room name. Let me give the meeting room name as CX training. Okay. Let me register. See, it's already showing registered. So it's done. It's already registered. So the device, you can see the device appear under this location. So it was kept under the meeting room. Hold on. So if we look at the dashboard, let's see how much devices. Sorry, the device, it's not yet connected to the network. That's the reason why you are not able to see those. So straightforward, you just register. So if you go back, you'll still have this message because that device, it's not connected to the network. It's being connected directly to the laptop in order to show this window, the settings page. So let me share back the presentation. Yeah, so that's the details that we could see on the XMS cloud. Okay, in case SmartCare has not yet been claimed, a warning will be also shown in the web configurator. You saw that, like it was mentioning that the SmartCare was not activated in our case, and it can take up to 24 hours for the SmartCare to be correct. So don't get panic saying that, okay, I registered right away and it's not been updated. Okay, most probably it will reflect right away, but it can take up to 24 hours of maximum. And please note that the demo and the seeding units will not have this information. So make sure you're not using the demo units for these. If the SmartCare, yeah, we saw it over there, if the SmartCare was not claimed within the time, and then it will only be showing the warranty date. You can see a message will be appearing, activation period for SmartCare expired. You can no longer activate SmartCare on your device. So this will be displayed on the web UI. So warranty end date will be the date of first time the device is being used. So once you have an open device, once you have a new box, once you open the device, and once you plug in for the first time, that's where the warranty starts the countdown. So this can be either the first date or the 9 months after the shipment. So yes, for your reference, CSC warranty date will be the shipment date from Barco warehouse plus 3 months plus 3 years. So ClickShare configurator, this is what we initially discussed. I have taken you through the web UI. So once you have the ClickShare being installed, the supported web browsers are Internet Explorer 10 or higher, Firefox, Chrome, and Safari. With the base units, the default SSID for the base units will be ClickShare and the serial number of the base unit. So if you open your Wi-Fi network, you can see that. And then with the default password for that will be ClickShare. Once you get into that network, the IP that you should provide to access is 192.168.2.1. So if you are going to access it via Ethernet cable, the fixed IP and the first stage will be 192.168.1.23. So make sure you do have make sure your laptop is in the same IP range of these so that you will have the access. Once you get this, once you provide this IP, and then you can, and once you provide this IP on the web UI, then you'll be asked for a username and password, which will be admin. Configuration, this is the first thing that I have showed. So it's easy, minimal configuration. You don't need to have much, like auto firmware update. It's possible if the units are connected to a network. So first, yes, register the device. That would be the best practice. Then go for auto firmware update will be happening if you are connected the device to the network. Then display and audio settings. Basically, it will be automatically done. But in case if you want to have some custom settings, that's possible. Yeah, give some welcome text so that people who walks into a meeting room will be happy to see those. You can change those based on your brand, your corporate branding, and all those. Security settings, yes, this is what we would recommend always. Change the password, change the admin. We just want to make sure that no one comes and mess your system. So change the SSID passwords, change the landing admin password. You can get security levels of 3 and activate an SSL certificate. The reason why we would suggest activating an SSL certificate is that if the SSL certificate is not activated, once you enter the IP, it would be on HTTP, where you will be asked to, the pop-up will be such a way that I believe you guys have seen the pop-up will be such a way that it will ask whether do you need to proceed, this site is not trusted or something of that kind that will be appearing over there. So if in order to make sure that doesn't appear, if you can activate SSL certificate, it will not appear, or else you just need to go to advanced and agree to proceed so that it will take you to the, and then Wi-Fi settings. So this is something that I have shown earlier. The display devices, the peripherals, there will be microphone, speakers, camera. If it's connected, it will all display in the web UI what are the peripherals that's being connected. And in the system, you can see the option of XMS. So under the system, there's a separate page for XMS. XMS connection status, remove from, if you want, possibility to remove from an organization account. All those are possible. And yes, the firmware releases. So just a second. So firmware 2.6 new all settings button. So erase all settings will reset. So there are two options: either erase all the settings or reset to the factory default. So once you erase all the settings, you don't need to go through all the onboarding when you do the erasing. Whereas if you go to factory default settings, reset to factory default, the device will switch to a state where it's coming from an open box or out of box kind of scenario. So hardware reset button on the base unit will still perform full reset to the factory default. So make sure if you're going to do a physical hardware reset, that will have the same effect of factory default. So this is the other option, update your Logitech Rally peripheral through the base unit. So this is possible for the Logitech Rally. You can have an option to update the firmware using the base unit, whereas it depends upon the peripheral. So earlier we have seen that when we were connecting the Shure and the Hartley camera, we didn't have the option to update the firmware from here. So this is possible for the Logitech Rally. You can update the firmware using the base unit. The same with the Logitech Meetup update capability. Sorry, the slide, it's a bit old, that's why. So it's backdated, yes. And then control through the XMS cloud. That's also a feature that we are looking at. Apart from those, the peripheral management functionality it's developed in cooperation with the strategic partners that ClickShare has. So that's the reason why we are able to have the firmware update for Rally from this window. Functionality and overview of the sharing. There you go. So this is something that, just a minute, I do have some questions, I believe. Yes, it's already addressed from the registration. Yes, it's already addressed. So this is the ClickShare present portfolio that has been recently launched. So ClickShare present portfolio includes the C5 and C10 units. So I believe there was a question earlier regarding the resolution. So here is it. So with the C5, it's ideally recommended for huddle room with 4K sharing. It has one source on the screen, and you can have 16 ready to be connected. So please note that the C5 doesn't comes with any button. So if you buy a C5 unit, it doesn't have any button. But if you want to buy button, that can be bought separately. So the main idea of C5 is to have app-based sharing, but it still supports the button. So if you want to add on, yes, or else you can go with the C10, which have one button, and it can see two, so you can display two sources on the screen at the same time. So that's possible, and 32 will be ready to be connected. Yes, meeting room conference system integration, full BYOD like button, ClickShare app, AirPlay, Chromecast, and Miracast are being supported. Collaboration functionality, you do have the capability of free screen, view room detail, display, etc. So these will be covered on later stage. C10, yes, it's touch capable. So whereas the C5, it's not. C10 is touch capable. Touchback feature is there, blackboard and annotate, it's also possible. But both of these have the enterprise ready. So in terms of security, ISO 27001, secure on all levels, certified. Management and reporting, it's possible via XMS, network capable, and it comes with 5-year smart care. Whereas this is a CX conference range portfolio. You have 3 of the lineup like CX20, CX30, and CX50. So all the 3 are conference capable. What's the difference? CX20 comes with one button in the box. It can have one source on the screen displayed at the time. 16 will be ready to be connected. Whereas on CX30, you do have 2 sources on the screen. It comes with 2 buttons in the box. 16 will be ready to be connected. And CX50, that's the top of the tier. It has the capability of conferencing and premium collaboration, whereas the CX30 has capability of conferencing and interactivity when compared with the CX20. So collaboration functionality include free screen, room view display, all those features are available, whereas in CX50, you could see it has an HDMI input. That's an additional feature in compared to other models. You do have an HDMI input. You do have a stronger chipset with dual Wi-Fi. So this is something that's much interesting in the CX50. So in CX50, you do have 2 dual Wi-Fi chips. So you do have dual Wi-Fi chips, 2 Wi-Fi. Apart from that, you do have a network connection. So in total, you are talking about 3 network interfaces or points with the CX50. How does it utilize, or where you need these? We'll discuss in the coming slides. And CX30 and 50, please note that these are touch capable. You have the capability of touchback, blackboard, and annotate. Same with the enterprise. So security, Barco, the ClickShare, it's quite famous for its security certifications and standard. It's being used in quite a lot of complex network scenarios where the security is a prime concern. So, and it also gets a 5-year smart care. So on a general overview of all those 5 products, the ClickShare Present and ClickShare Conference. This is an easy comparison. So video output, you can see all those 5 units supports 4K output. Video input, only CX50 can take a video input via an HDMI, and that will be on full HD resolution. Talking about the audio output, yes, all the devices can have audio output across the USB and HDMI, but with CX50, you do have much more capability. You can get a physical analog jack audio out, you'll get an SPDIF audio out. So these are the features that's available only in CX50. Number of sources per screen, yes, C5 comes with 1 source on screen, C10 has 2 sources, C20 has 1 source, C30 and C50 has 2 sources. PoE support, yes, ClickShare Present supports PoE splitter, C5, C10. So both of the ClickShare Present range supports the PoE splitter, whereas the ClickShare Conference support, apart from CX50, the other 2, the CX20 and 30 supports PoE splitter. Like it supports PoE over splitter, whereas the CX50, no, you need to power it. ClickShare button, this is what you need to understand when you pitch with the customers, when you agree with the customers, make sure the C5 doesn't comes with a ClickShare button. So if the customer is asking for a device with a button, either if it's only for present, yes, go for the C10. If they doesn't need a button, they are planning to share with the desktop or mobile app, yeah, C5 would be a perfect fit. Whereas with the conference, all the 3 models comes with a button, but the quantity varies. With the CX20, it's just 1 button, whereas the CX30 and 50, it comes with 2 buttons. If you want to have more buttons, that can be bought separately apart from whatever it's mentioned over here. Yes, talking about the ClickShare app, both the ClickShare Present and ClickShare Conference supports the ClickShare app over the desktop and mobile versions. Other protocols being supported, yes, AirPlay, Google Cast, and Miracast are being supported across the whole lineup. Touchscreen support and interactive capability. So the C5, you could see it's not being supported, same as the C20, it doesn't support the touchscreen and interactive capability, whereas the other models supports room dock or peripheral support. The C5 and C10 doesn't support any peripheral. That's why it's not coming in the conference range, whereas the ClickShare Conference supports the peripherals. So that's the reason why ClickShare Present, it's ideally meant for presentation, wireless presentation, and those. ClickShare Conference, yes, it supports peripherals. Please note that the cameras will be in 720p, and for the CX20 and CX30, whereas the CX50, it's up to 180p, but it depends upon the network. But down the line, if we are going to make it Zoom or Teams call over the net, Zoom or Teams call, no matter even if you connect a 4K camera, the resolution, output resolution will be 720p. So that's something that the customers are not aware. So people are expecting that if they have a 4K camera over the Zoom or Teams call, they're going to have that resolution. No, that's not the scenario as of now. Then looking at the local view moderation, yes, you do have the local view option available in C5, whereas in C10, you do have the local view as well as a moderation option available. So the local view helps you to have the screen display, like the displayed sources on your screen. So if you're not sharing, if you're just a participant, and if you want to have the content being shared to be displayed on your screen, this is also possible. Network connectivity, yes, each of these has a LAN and a Wi-Fi, whereas the CX50, that's where this becomes the top of the line. It has got dual Wi-Fi network, dual Wi-Fi chip apart from the LAN. And then the basic signage features are available, calendar integration and management reporting are available for all the 5. So these are the 7 ways to share your screen. So the 7 ways to share the screen. You can share it via button, you can share it via desktop app, you can share it with the mobile app, you can do the Miracast, AirPlay, Chromecast, and HDMI. So for CX50, you have an HDMI input. So the 7 ways to share your screen for a conference, that's something really amazing. Feature like BYOD, you have all the 7 ways to share. So there's a question, what will have influence on the video performance? What do you think based on your experience? Will it be the CPU performance, battery level, Wi-Fi signal, network performance, number of sources on the screen, or all of the above? So appreciate if you guys can respond to these over the chat. Hello, guys, can you hear me? I couldn't see any response. Yes, I could see response. So yes, influence of video performance will depends upon the Wi-Fi signal, the network performance of the venue, the CPU performance of your system. Yes, number of sources on the screen. So yes. So moving towards the next slide, video performance. So sharing the optimized, like ClickShare optimize the video performance to deliver up to 4K. So on-screen video performance depends upon the CPU performance. So this is what we were asking previously. These are the factors that depends upon the on-screen video performance, depends upon CPU performance, battery level, Wi-Fi network, number of sources on the screen. So there's a cool feature in the ClickShare, that's the optimization on audio lip sync. So this audio lip sync will occur automatically based on the video. So that's an amazing feature that you can pitch in. It will be a USP for the sales guys. Then you do have the dynamic control on the camera. So which means on a worse network environment, the quality will degrade to achieve fixed frame rate. Rather than having interruption in the call, there's a dynamic control which switches the camera quality to make sure you are still in the call, you are not being disconnected. And excellent, like there is no latency happening in between the system. So how can you help to boost video performance? First will be used to a 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi channel. So you have the option to switch between the 2.5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. So would recommend to use the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi channel. Make sure there is no obstruction in your Wi-Fi signal. So the distance from the base unit to the buttons are not far, or like there is no obstacles in between. And avoid the Wi-Fi interference. Make sure this is a general practice. You always do have the latest firmware updated on the device and peripherals. And yes, source video. Make sure the source video is also qualitative. So moving into the Wi-Fi settings, so this is some of the options that you have seen you can see on the web UI. So if you go into the Wi-Fi settings, you do have an operation mode where it can be chosen as an access point, or it can have, just a second, sorry for skipping the slides. So you can have the access point, or you can connect it with the organization Wi-Fi network. It's possible. If you're going to connect it to the organization Wi-Fi network, then you need to add the SSID manually with the passwords. So broadcast SSID, ClickShare is available, ClickShare configure. So you have all these options. You can select the frequency bandwidth, 5 gigahertz or 2.4. So these are some advanced settings that's available inside the Wi-Fi settings. So if you want to configure, yes, you have the capability. And yes, a general practice is to run the Wi-Fi analyzers to understand the environment. How busy is it? Like, do you have any bandwidth? I would prefer to using the 5 gigahertz rather than the 2.4, but this will help you understand what's the site condition. So ideally, once you connect the button to your laptop, automatically it should install the driver, it should install, and so there will be a light indication. You could see the red a red light ring across the button. So initially this would be a white one. So if it's not blinking, if it's standard white ring, then you're good to share. If it's not, if it's keep on blinking, then you need to do this manually, because which gives you an indication that the driver it's not yet installed. So just go to the open the ClickShare button. You can see from my computer on the devices, just open and you can see all these installers, the exes. So if you're using a Windows, just install the exe version, whereas if it's a Mac, you do have the Mac version. So just double click on it, you're good to go. So once that's done, then the light changes and you can start sharing the content. We have seen some of the organizations where the network it's the IT infrastructure, they are having strict policies. They will not even let the employees have their laptops with auto runs executable. So which means in those kind of site conditions, you need to execute these files. And a detail about the ClickShare driver. So for the Gen 4 button, so we do have details of the different buttons for that's in the coming slides. With the Gen 4, it's 1.16 is required, whereas 1.14 was originally launched for the Gen 3. So these are a detail into the driver details. I think that's fine. It's straightforward. So this is the button that you are going to receive with the CX series. So unlike the old button, so in the previous, the ClickShare, CSC and all those, you cannot see the small button. You can have only one button. With the new series, the Gen 4 buttons, you do have these features. So what's a small button? What are the features? Let's look. So this is where the light indication. So click the button and wait until you have a steady white light ring across these. Once you have that, then you are good to share. Once you start sharing, once you click the button, then it's a red color, the light ring changes into red, which means you are already sharing the content. And the small button will give a quick access. So it access the app menu for more tools. With the small button, you will be able to select the extend desktop feature. You can freeze the screen. You can show meeting room display. You can share the window, and all these options are available. Let's look more detail into these. So starting with the button LED states, you do have different LED states. So if you could see the LEDs in white ring filling up kind of situation, it means the button is plugged into a laptop and it's initializing. And it can also give an indication whether the button is updating or pairing. If it's on green ring, this happens when you have connected the button with the base unit. So if your button is connected with the base unit, you'll have first the white ring filling up, and then it will turn to green. So once it's turned to green, then it means that pairing or software update, it's done. You can unplug the button from base unit, and then you can connect it to your laptop. Whereas spinning white circle indicates that the button is busy. You don't know how long it will take. ClickShare app is setting up the connection with the base unit. Whereas the white blinking, the button is waiting for the user to start the ClickShare application. Static white, that gives an indication ClickShare is ready to start sharing your screen. Static red will give an indication sharing your screen with the display. Red blinking indicates there's an error occurred. If there is no light, the button is not properly inserted into a USB port. The button might be defective, or the USB port of the computer might be defective. And there's another cool feature. So if you do have two people, two of the buttons being sharing on the same screen, like the image that you have seen, and if you can give a longer press for 2 seconds, your button will take over the screen. So you will switch to full screen with the button that was giving a long press being displayed. I could see my colleague has answered the question. So, yep, moving to the next buttons. So first thing that you need to understand, the CSE range and the CX range buttons are totally different. It's not compatible with each other. So please don't get it mistake. Screen, it's being I could see a message from please share the screen. I hope you guys are able to see my screen, right? Okay, so I don't know, there's some issues with Subair, I think. Yeah. So, and regarding the remarks of the button, so same button like the ClickShare conference and the CXNC will be having the same button. Please note that it's not compatible with the CSE range. So the new button that's a Gen 4 comes as a USB-C. So most of the scenarios we could see the laptops are not yet updated. Like you cannot find every laptop with the USB-C. So it will be always recommended to have a converter kept. It's not coming with the box, unfortunately. So if you have a converter from USB-C to USB, it would be ideal, because you don't know the people that's going to jump in for come into your meeting rooms will be having a USB or USB-C port. So if you have a converter, it will be great, and it works well with the USB. So if you use a converter, it will work. So initially, by default, the ClickShare button connects with the base unit in 5 GHz Wi-Fi. But this can be configured if you would like to switch to 2.4, it's possible. And the button can also be integrated into the network. So if you want to share instead of connecting the button directly to the base unit or Wi-Fi, if you want to connect it to a network, that's also possible. But I would prefer to have it connected over to the base unit using the Wi-Fi. So these are some of the details regarding the button compatibility. You do have, so we can see how the button got evolved from Gen 2 to Gen 3 and now finally with the Gen 4. So this is the Gen 4 button that we were talking about. It's a Gen 4 button sold with the CX20, CX30 and CX50. Whereas Gen 3, it's coming with the CS and CSE series. And I don't think you'll have much of the Gen 2 button, because this was sold with the early, and the button itself, it's an end-of-life product. It was sold with the CSM1, CSC1 series. Then the new cool feature, it's the desktop app. So we do have the desktop app. We do have the desktop app that's capable. So you can have you can download the desktop app, so you don't need to use the button. You can even share over the app. So you can download it from the ClickShare app. Some of the key features, if you can also download it from the ClickShare button, where you can see an option to download. So that's also possible. So Wi-Fi presence detection is of the base unit. That's a cool feature that's been released recently. So I'll talk about it later once we get into that slide. With the desktop app, the features that you have, you can select the window. So rather than sharing your entire screen, you can have the capability. I could see some Hassan press control tab to comment screen sharing. I could see a message from Hassan, so I'm not sure. Sorry, it's not from Hassan, it's from Ahmed. So are you able to see the screen? I could see. Let me stop and share again because I'm not sure. I'm getting this request from.
Hi, Akhil. The screen is visible. We can see the screen.
All right, cool. So thanks, Maliha. Thanks for that. Yeah. So this is one of the features that you can select the window. So rather than selecting displaying or sharing your entire screen, you can select a particular window so that you can work at the back end. Like people only will be seeing your window rather than seeing the entire screen. So that's a cool feature that you have with the desktop app. Select to share a window. So, and you'll not have any pop-ups in between. So that's something really good. Like you do have the view room display. So this is a feature that I was talking about early. So if you're in the same room, someone is sharing, and if you want to see that in your laptop, for example, if you're talking about a larger meeting room where you're not able to see what's displayed on the screen, and if you want to see it in your laptop, yes, you can have the view room display option. So but there's some limitations in terms of the maximum users. So if you're using a CX50, the maximum four users, and it's not recommended for video. So this will be mainly recommended for the presentation. So like we are talking about 4 frames per second will be used. And if it's being used, it will be indicated on the status bar. So you will know if view room display is being used or not. Then you do have the capability of extended view, Windows driver, but make sure the drivers will be updated. So you do have the capability of extended view, extended desktop. So this helps, especially when you do have presentations to share over the PowerPoint. So you don't display, you can still see the keynotes or the reference notes in your laptop, and you still have the the final output on the shared screen. You do have also option to freeze the screen. Yep. So this is the indication, like this is the button to freeze the screen. If that's required, you can do that. And if you're looking for info, then you can get these about details. So it will show you what's the desktop version, what's the base, the details about the base information, the IP, the button information. So all these options are available at the about window. So please note, by default, the IP address, once you have a device being taken from the box, please note the IP will not be displayed on the wallpaper. So you need to activate that. So like I was showing you the way I was showing you on the web UI, you need to activate that, then only the IP will be displayed on the wallpaper. You do have privacy controls. So symbol settings so this is privacy control based on the requirements from the European Union government. So we are strictly following the privacy controls. So one symbol settings, it's an easy symbol setting that can help you to understand regarding the privacy controls, like if you don't collection of the data, user data, pop-ups and all those. So that's the Yep. So about will give you the much more information about the IP and serial numbers, MAC address, firmware. So all these detailed information will be available on the about. So this will be Let me share you. Let me share my screen so that can give an understanding. I'm not sure if this will be displayed. So I'm sharing my screen. You can see that. So you could see the little pop-up at the right bottom. So this is what you could see. So you have the multiple window options. So I can select the window. I do, since I'm already connected with the ClickShare, that's why I'm not getting this extended. I can freeze the screen. I do have about. So if I click on about, you could see all the details about the ClickShare. So this is what we were talking about with this button being connected. So if I press on, I'll get disconnected with this. So I hope you have seen those. Moving back, it's 12. I think let's pause for a break for another 5 minutes and we'll be back after that. I hope that's fine with everyone. I cannot hear any response. Guys, it's break, come on. All right, thank you. We'll have a 5 minutes break. We'll be back after that. All right, guys, I think everyone is back from the break. Let's resume. So, yep, recently we have came up with the app-based conferencing instead of button. You can do the conferencing with the application. So this was initially in the beta stage. Now we have got into improved version. So it's a well-tested version where you have the capability of doing conference based on the application. So this is the audio device setting that needs to be like you'll have the speakers, ClickShare option, microphones also will be the ClickShare. So this is connect to a ClickShare base unit using the ClickShare application, and inside the meeting room peripherals, just select the ClickShare room. So, and just choose the camera based on the device that you have connected. So that's it. So please make sure that once you're leaving, just stop the call and disconnect, so that the peripherals will no longer be in use, or else it will be connected until you disconnect from the base unit. And installing the app-based conference, it's easy. You can get like you can get an MSI for install the setup wizard. Just follow the procedure like regular installation. It's nothing much. So once you have that, like this can be deployed. So deploying the app-based conferencing for a large-scale deployment, it's compatible with Microsoft System Center configuration management, so which makes your life easier if you're an IT admin or a network guy who wants to implement this on a large scale to quite a number of devices. Yes, we have made your lives easier. General requirements and limitations for the app-based conferencing. The ClickShare conference base unit supported for these are CX20, 30, and 50. The firmware version needs to be 2.8 or higher. The base unit needs to be connected to the LAN of the net. Should be connected to the LAN network. Apps must be able to connect over the network to the base unit. So these are the requirements, and few more in terms of the network requirements. The bandwidth of 30 Mbps per connection. I know that's a bit huge, yes, but still that's the requirement if you want to use app-based network connectivity. So what I have seen is that, just a second, guys. What I have seen is that most of the end users, they doesn't try to understand what's the requirement of the bandwidth that they need in their venue to have this conference over the web. I mean, conference over the app. So they think it's normal, but no, network, it's a key point. So make sure there is enough bandwidth over there. The load balancing of the network is proper, so you don't have like issues over the network where at one point you think that this is not right and you will start complaining about the device. No. So these are the requirements that's required to have the network, the wireless conference over the application. So with 30 Mbps, we are expecting a low network latency, less than 50 millisecond end-to-end. And this is only available for Windows 10. So currently it's only available for Windows 10. The mute sync between the microphone and UC, it's not supported for these app-based conference. So if that's something that you need to keep a note. So with the mobile app, you have the capability to share video and audio, multi-language. It can be works well with the Android and iOS platforms. Yeah. So it's a cool, it's really nice interface. You have the connect to ClickShare Wi-Fi. You have the meeting room SSID. You can select and share. So that's possible. And same with the button. If you have a long press, you'll have the screen take over. The same with the app you have with the long press capability to take over the meeting room screen. Miracast, first of all, let's look what's Miracast. It's a standard for wireless connection from mobile devices to your display. So it's a native functionality in Windows 10. It uses Wi-Fi Direct. So if you press the Windows key and K, you will have these windows with the device that's been capable. Select the ClickShare base unit and start sharing. So it's easy. It supports Miracast. So Miracast Direct works when access point is turned off. So ideally over here, you can see in this image, when the access point of the base units is turned off, then the button will be communicating with the base unit over the network. So button will be communicating with the network, whereas the laptop will be communicating with the base unit over the Miracast. And then you do have the Miracast MS Mice over the network. So this will be the same way like the Miracast will be talking with the enterprise network. And then the button also will be communicating with the enterprise network. And whereas the base unit can be connected over the Wi-Fi. So these are certain, these are different options that you can configure the network with. Looking at the AirPlay, yes, connecting to the Wi-Fi base unit. So first you need to go to a screen mirroring option. First connect to the Wi-Fi base unit, the SSID, and then from there you can do the screen mirroring option. Standard AirPlay discovery. So no MDNS message. So which means ideally it will be over the network. So you can have it's straightforward. So make sure the MDNS broadcast it's enabled so that it will be able to discover the AirPlay. And also it does not propagate between the VLANs, so it should be on the same VLAN. This is a new cool feature that the button has capable. So it has the capability of outlet integration. So if you are connected and you do have an upcoming meeting, you don't need to go anywhere to join the call. So you can just join directly from the button. So that's really an amazing feature for Outlook integration. So you can join the conference call for Teams, Zoom, everything. The app will automatically gets opened. But for these, please note that the Outlook client needs to be installed on the laptop. Another cool feature is the room display. So this is what we were earlier displaying. So instead of sharing the screen, you have the capability of share the room display, or else you can even share the windows. So in order to have the room display, you no need to open the local view window. You don't need to have a separate display. You just click on the room display window and that's it. There are also peripheral state and usage indication on the wallpaper. So like you can see local view active, the peripherals that's being used. You can see the camera, it's already connected. There's a microphone connected. The microphone mute, it's mute. It will be indicating the microphone mute as well. There's a new mode called theater mode. So in theater mode, the status bar hides when the content is being shared. So you'll have the capability of displaying in a full screen rather than having it on like. So if you look at the image on the left, it's being a shared content, whereas on the right side, you can see on the bottom, there's camera indication, the microphone and the passcode. So these will be, so the left one, it's the one that's indicating a theater mode. And once so the entire screen will be used to share the content, there will not be any black bars on the sides or bottom. And when you have new joining or some pop-ups, it shows on the bottom like a pin code for someone to, if someone requests to join, pin code will be displayed at the bottom, all those. And on touch screens, a tag enabled. So if you have touch screen, there will be a tag to bring up the status bar, like to annotate the blackboard and all those. You have the capability of also the meeting room status display, like view the room availability. So this is also possible. If you can see, until what time the room is booked. So, but for this, you need to have an integration with the Office 365 room accounts. For currently, that's the only one supported at the moment. And this can be configured on using the XMS cloud. Yeah, so this is how you configure the Office 365 using the XMS cloud with the calendar application. I'm not going to much detail into this at the moment because I just want to give an overview that this feature is available. So if you want to have these, feel free to reach us and we'll be able to guide you. So this is the same, like integrating with those for the rooms, the meeting rooms, the Teams room. Yeah. Yes, couple of questions. The commonly asked question is that Linux and Chrome OS operating systems, yes, will work using the peripherals via button. Yes, if you're using button, yes. But there is no support for the time being for the ClickShare app screen sharing because that's the limitation from the OS. So, and if you have a touch screen in the room, annotation and blackboard, start a blackboard by pressing the status bar on the bottom of the screen, or you can take a snapshot. So these features are available if you want to do a snapshot of the shared content, that's also possible. And then you can save those possible, you can save those snapshots as well. So you do have the capability, but please make most of the touchscreens are compatible with the ClickShare unit, but still I would recommend to verify on the peripheral list before you purchase one to make sure it's compatible. So this will be saved on, like, if you want to save it on the local, this will be saved on the username documents under ClickShare download. So that's the path. And there's also an option called touchback. So if you have a touch screen in the room, you can use a touchback. So touchback will help to control your PC from the touch screen with one button. So only with one button sharing, you have the capability of touch screen like the touchback. But as I mentioned earlier, just check the compatibility of the touch screen. And if you're going to give a right click for 2 to 3 seconds long, for the right click, that just keep and hold for 2 to 3 seconds long. So in the touch screen, that will function as your right click. Other thing that needs to be noted is native touchscreen functionality cannot be used in combination with the touchback or ClickShare. So those needs to be disabled. And for the time being, no support for active pens. Oops, sorry. Yeah, so touchback functionality only with one button sharing, touchscreen compatible. Yes, when connecting to a display, the display needs to be configured to 1080p, otherwise you will have an offset. So just make sure you are on the same resolution, like same across the device. Yeah. And this is a network. So this is the area where you have quite a lot of options to play around. Quick question, just to make sure you are still there with me, because for the last 2 hours, I have been listening to my own audio. I was not able to hear you guys apart from the quick chat, the couple of questions that I could see. So there's another question for you guys. Does the base unit need to be network connected during the usage? So there are two options. Option A, no, but highly recommended. Option B is yes. Appreciate if you guys can answer. Yeah, I could see a quick response. Thanks for that. Yes. So the base unit doesn't need to be always connected during the usage towards the network, but it will be recommended to have a network connectivity. Why does Barco promote to connect the base unit to the network? So that you'll get automatic firmware updates. You can use it with the XMS. You can remotely manage, monitor the buttons being connected. Easy configuration and calendar integration also will be possible. Okay, so let's discuss more about the different connectivity of network. So this is a standalone situation where you have the base unit connected with the button over Wi-Fi. You do have your laptop connected over the LAN, and then you do have the other devices being communicating over the same Wi-Fi, whereas the base unit's not connected to LAN. So this is most of the out-of-box situation. This is a common scenario that we have seen in most of the places, but I'll be happy to have these kind of connections so that the base unit will be connected to a network, a LAN network. So this will be the second option. You have a base unit that can be connected to the LAN network. Then you have the button communicating with the base unit over the Wi-Fi. And then the advantage of these connection will be the mobile devices or the guest devices will be communicating with the base unit over the Wi-Fi rather than communicating directly to this base unit's Wi-Fi. So that can be possible. Configuring, so you have them. You can either go for DHCP or static IP. And then you do have the wired, so it's just the normal kind of setups, not going into much detail. We do have more to cover, so but if you need to have more detail for these, feel free to reach out. So these are a few of the options. You can go into LAN settings, you can make DHCP, you can make in static IP, so these are possible over there. This is a third scenario how the integration is possible. So over here, the Wi-Fi of the base unit, it's not being connected. So the base unit is connected to a LAN network. Then you do have the button connecting to the enterprise networks, the same as the wireless networks. I mean, the mobile devices being connected to the Wi-Fi of the enterprise network. This can be done where if the IT guys on the organization doesn't allow you to use the Wi-Fi of the base unit. There's a remark for CX to ensure low latency connection between the laptop and peripherals. A direct connection between the button to base unit is always advised. Yeah, so which means I would always prefer to have this connection than have a LAN connection from the base unit going into a network. So that's an recommended one, but still depends upon the IT infrastructure or the IT guys who are available. So network connections, yes. So either you can have a LAN network connection for wired devices. Then you do have the other capability of on CX50 and CSE200. It's like dual Wi-Fi connections and a LAN connection. So the wired connection for management and BYODs, then the wireless will be for the guests. So which means you do have two Wi-Fi units. So one unit you can dedicate for, one unit will be for the buttons to communicate with the device, and the second Wi-Fi will be for your guest users. So let's say if you're having an organization where you'll have guest users or visitors, and you don't want them to have access towards the organizational network, so you create a guest network for them. They can connect to the guest network and they can share the content. So you are totally secure for these. You are not accessing your other networks to these. And then you do have the other option, network connection, like it's just over the Wi-Fi. Getting further details into this with the CX50, so this is what I was mentioning earlier. You do have a guest network Wi-Fi. So whoever the guest comes in, they can connect to this guest network and share the content. And the other Wi-Fi will be connected towards the button. And then you'll have a dedicated network connected towards the enterprise network. The same can be done with the CX20 and 30, but the limitation is, as you know, the CX20 and 30 has only one Wi-Fi and one network. So if you're going to give us a dedicated network, Wi-Fi network to the guests, then you'll be forced to have the buttons to be connected towards the enterprise network, as well as the base unit will be connected to the enterprise network over the VLAN. Over the LAN connection. So in this scenario, the concern would be the bandwidth, because the buttons will be connected to enterprise network will be connected to the enterprise network. So it will not be having a direct communication over the Wi-Fi. So just make sure you have enough bandwidth. But for these kind of setup, if the IT admins recommend to have separate, then I would prefer to go for the CX50, where you have dedicated network for the buttons. You do have another Wi-Fi for the guest network, and you have a LAN physical connection that's connected with your organization. There are certain situations that we can look in. The customer wants to enable the guest to share over the guest network with their smartphones. The base units are connected to an employee network. No routing is allowed between these networks. So this is for the network connection, whereas for the dual network, okay, just a second. So if there is no network cable available on the room and the customer wants to use the XMS dual network, so you have two Wi-Fis, one will be connected towards the organization Wi-Fi, and the other Wi-Fi will be used as an SSID for the guest to connect. So this is where you do have, so you might have site conditions where there will not be any physical network point available. So in these kind of scenarios, you can go with CX50, where you can connect with the enterprise network over and Wi-Fi, and then the buttons will be communicating to the base unit through the other Wi-Fi, since it has two Wi-Fi access. The third will be the client mode. The customer wants to enable guests to share over the guest network with their smartphone. They're willing to route between the VLANs. Yes, so in that case, if they have no issues to communicate over the VLAN, then that can be a network connected Wi-Fi. Does your customer need? So this is a quick understanding of the product, how to get into a right product. If the customer needs a central management option, app sharing through the network, integration with the control system, automatic updates, and all those, yes. If he say he doesn't need, yeah, you need to convince him. No, I was just kidding. So if he needs these, then the option would be, is there a network cable available near the base unit or not? If there is no network cable, then you have already decided which one to go. That's the CX50. Preferably, because then you'll have one Wi-Fi connecting to the enterprise network and other Wi-Fi for the buttons. If he has a network cable, yes, then connect the LAN. So you have a network port connected. Then you have the next question: does the customer wants to enable guests to share over the guest network or not? If he doesn't want to share the guest over the guest network, you know which product. If he want, then should the guest Wi-Fi be fully separated from the enterprise network? Yes or no? So if it's yes, then you know it's CX50. Else you know which one. So this is an easy, it's an easy understanding which product the customer would need. So prerequisites for network integration: the available bandwidth for each button 8 to 10 Mbps, and maximum physical rate of Wi-Fi modules of the ClickShare button at 65 Mbps. So that's something that you need to understand. What's the transfer rate or what's the capacity of these. If the IT infrastructure, then IT admin, network admins have blocked quite a lot of network ports, we have the details that needs to be unlocked to make the system works. So this is available. The firewall must allow the ClickShare for the below ports. I can share you guys with these the ports that need to be open, because we have seen a couple of sites where all these are being blocked and was giving a hard time for the integrator. So once you have these, just give it to the IT infrastructure or the admin guys, ask them to enable these ports, even though they say they enable, and still you are facing that the system it's not working. The first thing I would say it's they haven't enabled, because I have seen those quite a lot of times. Even the IT guys say it's enabled, most of them won't be enabled. It's still coming back to us. Yep. So routing hints, it's if you know the IP address of the base unit, then you can route from one VLAN to the other going through the routing table. So that's also possible. Direct connections, presence sense. So presence sense is something that I want to talk more about. Okay, this is more about the presence sense. So how it works. Presence sense in the base unit, it sends an ultrasound beacon every 5 seconds. So this works with the app. So you need to have the app to have this. Once the app is installed, it will be sending ultrasound beacon every 5 seconds, through which each device's microphone decodes. So if you have an app installed in your laptop, then that you need to give access to the microphone. So the application need to have an access to a microphone. Then it will look for these. Once it's done, then you know that there's a base unit next to you. And the signal of these can be set. So if you're having a different size of meeting room, based on your meeting room size dimension, you can set the signal strength for these as low, medium, and high. So if you are talking about an organization where you do have quite a lot of units around, or different meeting rooms next to each other, then this will be a cool feature that you can look into. XMS. Okay, XMS, it's an enterprise grade solution designed for like your network. It's secure, it's ISO certified. You have the management, you can get the insights, and you do have the smart care. You have first of all, XMS, it's free of charge. It's a central management tool for CX and CSE range. You can get the device status, you can get the device information, you can schedule firmware updates, reboots, you can register the device, configure the device, troubleshoot, and get an insight on the data usage. Like you can see how many times the meeting rooms are being used, whether it's right to invest in more, save your times and costs. You have two variants, cloud and offline versions. Also, you can see multiple sites in one view. So earlier you have seen that I was sharing the XMS, so we can have a tree where you can mention different sites. So that's possible. So central management. So this is a quick overview. So the XMS, so for the CX and C, it's connecting directly to the cloud. So each unit will be communicating directly with the cloud. Whereas if you have an XMS edge, then all the units will be communicating with the XMS edge, and from there it's only one communication going to the cloud. And if you want on-premise with XMS edge, yes, but make sure this XMS edge on-premise will be for CSE, CX, and C range. I'm not going in detail of XMS edge installation, but if you are interested to have an XMS offline platform, yes, you can reach us so that we can guide you how to install and all these. Let me see what all. Now let's Okay. Let's jump into the cloud version. So you do have the dashboard. You can go to the offline mode by device. That's more about the device manager. Sorry. Let me share you the screen and give an understanding of the XMS. I hope you guys can see my screen. So this is the XMS cloud. So it's a demo. You can see, so ideally on the left side, you can see the dashboard, devices, button, scheduler. You can see the insights, audits and settings. On top, you do have different tenants. So you can have different tenants under these. So if you look at the dashboard, it's given quick overview of total number of devices. It's 7, 4 are being connected, 3 are disconnected, 0 is sharing, running fine. So for all the 4 that's connected are running fine. And on the bottom, you can see the firmware distribution. You can see whether the firmware is up to date or not. And upgrade 2 devices. So this gives an overview for the IT managers to monitor multiple units being installed. You can see whether it's updated or not. And the dashboard, it will give a quick overview. So if you want to add units, that's also possible. So if you look at the devices, you can see the devices. Just a second, it's being accessing. So you can see the device tree on the left side, and you can see all these floor based on floor and the locations, the number of the meeting room name, it's displayed over here, the location, it's displayed, the serial number, IP address, model, what kind of device it is, the status are being displayed over here. So if you select one of these, you can get the details like manually by user, the modes, the number of channels. If you look at the button details, you can see how many buttons are there and each connection count, when was this last paired. The peripherals, if you want to see more detail, like what are the peripherals connected into each, that's also been possible. So you can get all these details from here. And moving further into the button, the next window, you can see the details of all the buttons. So you can see the base unit history. So which means if the button was initially connected to meeting room 1 and on a later stage it was taken out to meeting room 2 and was being paired, you can trace a history where the button was initially connected to which room, to which model, and where is it currently connected to. So all those details are available. You can see the connection counts. This is a scheduler. So scheduler window will help you to schedule firmware updates and all those. You can have the, just a second, you can create a job. I'm not going to give a hands-on because I'm accessing a demo setup currently, so I cannot do the changes live, but let me see. If I create a job, I can create what's action. I need to do a reboot or upgrade. I can do the select the device. I can schedule when it needs to be. So all these features are possible on the scheduler. Looking at the insights, you can have an insight based on the room. So total hours of usage, average usage. So this give an overview or understanding about the meeting rooms, whether it's being wisely used, how efficiently staffs are being using the meeting rooms, it's properly used, and all those. So, and what's the peak hours? So if you could see a peak hour at 12 p.m., which means most of the meetings are happening at the same time, and if you could allocate more resource if that's required. So all these features are available in the insights. And then you do have an audit. So if you want to see who all have access this device, all those, so that's possible. And yes, in the settings you have more. You can have different people added, user management. You can select the privilege. You can see whether there needs to be viewer, they need to have the admin privilege, they need to have support. You can also have the location tree. So sorry guys, it's taking a while to load the page. So you can select the location tree, you can add, all these are possible. You have the device templates for each, so there's separate device templates for each room. If you want to follow, so okay, let's say India CSE 200 template will be followed across the whole India office, whereas the Belgian template will be followed across the Belgium. So these are possible. Wallpapers, if you want to have standard wallpapers across the organization, these are all possible. So it's an amazing cool feature, the XMS Cloud, to manage the device across the whole organization, even in different. So it's really a handy tool. So that's more about the XMS. A quick glimpse about the XMS. So that's it. And getting into final slides, let's see the common questions that we could get from people are, let me share my screen. Okay, ways of managing. APIs are available. XMS Cloud, it's a way to manage, but if you want to integrate with third-party control system, yes, it's possible. It's compatible with Cyrus, Crestron, Symfony. It's compatible with third-party control systems. So that's also possible. As mentioned earlier, CX20 and 30 are compatible with PoE splitter. So if you want to power using a splitter, it's possible. And in terms of security, so this is something that we outstand compared to competitors in terms of security. It's ISO certified. So, and you do have quite a lot of levels of encryption or authentication. So it's really secured. We have seen this being spec'd in quite a lot of military applications where high level of security is mandatory or required. So that's possible. So if the customer asks for more and more of security concerns, feel free to reach us and we'll be able to help you to get the right security required for these. And it's about the SSL certificate. It's getting more into detail. So if you need these, yes, I'll be happy to help you out. This is something that I wanted to give an overview. So this is the settings that you can see on the web UI, 3 levels of security. So that's first one, it's very straightforward. You have activate passports and all those. With the second level of security, you need the button required certificate for pairing, mandatory password for all mobile apps and services, so without which they cannot. And if you're going for the further security, mobile apps and services are blocked, so everyone needs to use it from the buttons. Firmware downgrade of the device, it's not possible. No wireless access to the web UI, so you need to physically connect to access to web UI. No remote button pairing is possible, whereas with the other ones, you can remotely pair the button. So that's another feature of, you can do it with the XMS. So those are something possible. I think that's it from my side. So now you guys can unmute, because it's for the last 3 hours, I was just sharing myself. So feel free to unmute, have your questions. Let's take the Q&A and wind up. I hope the session was helpful, you guys. Hello, come on, wake up. You had enough sleep for the last 3 hours, so it's fine.
Thank you for the training. It was very.
I know it's too boring, but the topic is dry, so I don't want to go much deep, which will make you further sleep. So feel free to reach out.
I'm sure. I hope all the guests enjoyed. And we're also going to give in my colleague Subhash's email address in case any of you have any concerns. So you guys can write to my colleague Subhash. And also, Akhil, are you comfortable if you share your email ID?
Yeah, sure. So you can, I'll be happy to share Mubarak. So Mubarak, it's my colleague who is going to be primarily taking care of ClickShare. So I can share his email ID. So he will be the first person to reach out. So he'll be happy to help you. But anyway, I'll be also there. So we are as a team working. So I know the concerns that you're reaching at. You are going to.
Perfect.
So I hope the session was helpful for you guys. You guys learned something new. So I think that was something much helpful today, at least rather than just 3 hours of sleep. I believe I was able to pass some information to you guys. Thanks for all those who was answering to the questions over the chat. It was helping me to keep awake from my side as well. All right. Anything else, Maliha, you would like to add on, or that's it?
Just one small request. I know that few of you were not able to log in to Barco University, but that is where we'll get our certificates from. In case you're unable to log in, okay, where in the email I said click here to log into Barco. If you're unable to log in, just drop me an email. We will arrange your certificate and we will email you the certificate. Okay, so I just, you have my email address, is maliha.riaz@nmkelectronics.com or marketing@nmkelectronics.com. I'll just type my email also here in the chat box. So you guys can contact me for the certificates if in case you're unable to get it from Barco University directly. All right, thank you so much for attending. And yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you for attending.
Wait, let me just give my email address.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.